He had no parents, no coach, and no future, just a pair of worn-out gloves and an abandoned boxing gym. Every day after school, Liam trained alone, fighting shadows in silence, chasing a dream no one else could see. But everything changed the day a mysterious old man started watching him from the corner of the gym. Before we dive in, let me know in the comments where you watching from. Liam Torres never asked to be a fighter, but life made him one anyway. At 14, he had already lost more than most people lose in a lifetime. His mother died when he was 7. His father, who no one spoke of, was just a name on an old birth certificate. Since then, he'd been shuffled between foster homes and temporary shelters like luggage no one wanted to carry for long. But through it all, one thing stayed constant: the ache in his chest that never left. He never called it grief. Grief was what people in nice neighborhoods talked about in therapy. Liam called it something else: fuel. Every day after school, while the others at the group home played video games or got into trouble, Liam slipped away. Past the corner store, through the alley with the flickering street lamp, across the rusted fence with a hole just wide enough for a skinny kid to squeeze through. And there it stood, the gym. No sign, no doorbell. Just a metal door with chipped red paint and the ghost of a name burned into a wooden board above it. Ramirez Boxing Club. The windows were clouded with grime, the sidewalk cracked and forgotten. To anyone else, it looked like a storage unit for broken dreams. To Liam, it was home. The first time he'd seen it, he was just 10. A man had walked out, sweaty and smiling, holding the hand of his daughter. Liam watched from across the street, hiding behind a trash bin. The man had leaned down, kissed her forehead, and said, "You're tougher than most of the guys in there." That was the moment Liam knew he had to get inside. It took him 3 days to find a way in. Now, 4 years later, it was his sanctuary. The place no one looked for him. The place no one told him he wasn't enough. The power didn't work anymore. The ceiling leaked when it rained. The ring was lopsided, but the bags were still there. The gloves, mismatched and torn, were still there. And Liam trained like the world was watching, even though it never was. He didn't know the proper footwork. He didn't understand combinations, but he had heart. He had hunger. And he had YouTube. Every night, he'd hide under his blanket with his battered phone and watch clips of fights. Real ones, fake ones, everything in between. Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Arturo Gatti, and Rocky Balboa. There was something about Rocky, something that felt familiar. The busted knuckles, the underdog stare, the silence. Liam didn't care that it was fiction. It felt real to him. And so, he mirrored everything. He ran laps around the cracked parking lot. He did push-ups on broken concrete. He taped his wrists with bandages he found at the shelter's first aid box. But most of all, he believed in the one thing no one ever gave him: a second round. One Thursday afternoon, as he was midway through shadow boxing, something shifted. He felt it first, that tingle at the base of the neck, the sense that he wasn't alone. He stopped, looked toward the back corner. Nothing. He turned back, and there it was, a shadow, leaning against the far wall, still, silent. Liam squinted. The man was older, tall, wore a gray hoodie and a black cap pulled low. He didn't move, didn't speak, just watched. Liam's first instinct was to run. Trespassing, after all. But something made him stay. Maybe it was the man's calm posture. Maybe it was the way he looked. Not threatening, not angry, just interested. "Who are you?" Liam asked, voice cracking slightly from both exertion and fear. The man didn't answer. Instead, he stepped forward slowly, stopping just short of the edge of the ring. "You ever think about putting your back foot down when you throw that right hook?" he said, voice gravelly but measured. Liam blinked. "What?" "Your balance is off. You're losing power." Liam narrowed his eyes. "How would you know?" The man smiled just a little. "Trust me, I've been hit enough to know what works." Liam looked him over again. He didn't recognize him. Just some old guy, maybe a ghost of whoever used to train here. A former janitor, maybe? Or just another man with nowhere to be. The man turned to leave. Wait, Liam called out. He stopped. Are you a coach? The man looked back, his face unreadable. Not anymore. And then he walked out. Liam stood there, heartbeat racing. He didn't even realize his fists were still clenched. The next day, he came back earlier than usual. The man was already there. No words were exchanged. No greetings, just a nod. The day after that, it happened again. Each day the man would say just one thing, something about form or footwork or breath control. Then he'd leave. It wasn't until the end of the week that Liam finally asked, "What's your name?" The man paused at the door, silhouetted by the orange evening light. "Call me Sly," he said. But who is Sly really? And why is he here? Liam doesn't know it yet, but the man watching him train is about to change his life forever. The days turned into weeks, and the strange rhythm between Liam and the old man became something like a routine. Unspoken, quiet, but steady. Liam would train. Sly would appear. He never corrected too much. Just one line, one adjustment, and then he'd leave. Sometimes not even that. Sometimes just a nod of approval, or disapproval, that said more than words ever could. Liam had never felt watched without feeling judged, until now. There was something about Sly's presence. It didn't command the room. It didn't demand performance. It simply witnessed. And for a kid who'd spent years feeling invisible, being seen was a strange, powerful thing. Back at the group home, things weren't improving. Mrs. Darnell, the caretaker, was overworked and overwhelmed. There were too many kids, not enough rules, and even less patience. Marcus, 17 and already a veteran of the system, ran the place like it was his own. He bullied the younger ones, pocketed donated snacks, and saw Liam as a threat simply because he didn't submit. "You think you're special because you skip out every afternoon?" Marcus said one night, cornering Liam in the hallway. "Where you go, huh? You stealing stuff?" Liam pushed past him. He didn't answer. He never did. But that didn't stop Marcus from following him one day. He tailed Liam from a distance, through the alley, past the fence, and stood outside the gym window, watching. When he saw the old man with Liam, he snapped a picture and ran back to the shelter. That night, Liam was called into Mrs. Darnell's office. She held the photo in one hand, his case file in the other. "You've been skipping school, trespassing on private property, and associating with a stranger," she said. "He's not dangerous," Liam insisted. He's teaching me." "Teaching you what?" "How to throw punches in an abandoned dump." "He's Stallone," Liam said. She stared at him. "What?" "His name's Sly. He knows boxing. He helped make Rocky." Mrs. Darnell sighed, as if confirming what she already feared. "You've built a fantasy, Liam. A delusion. This isn't a movie." But Liam knew. He didn't have proof, but he knew. That night, he packed a small bag. Just his phone, some food, and a pair of gloves he kept under his bed. He went back to the gym and stayed there, hiding behind the lockers when he wasn't training, sleeping in the corner under a pile of old towels. Sly didn't come the next day, or the one after. Then, on the third morning, Liam found something on the floor where he trained. A pair of brand new hand wraps, clean, rolled, folded with intention. He looked around. No one. They were from Sly. That same day, Liam tried something new. A drill he'd seen online, 3-punch combo with footwork rotation. He was in the middle of it when a voice called out behind him, "Better! But your hips are doing all the thinking." Sly was back. Liam turned, beaming. "You didn't show up," Sly shrugged. "I'm not your coach. I'm just interested." "Well, I need a coach." Sly stared at him. For a moment, Liam thought he would say no, but then Sly sighed, reached into his coat pocket, and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was a training plan, handwritten, annotated. Liam took it like it was a treasure map. "You serious?" he asked. "Are you?" That was the start of something new. Every morning, Sly showed up before dawn. He timed Liam's footwork drills, corrected his guard, watched in silence when Liam sparred against shadows, and little by little, the gym began to change. Liam started sweeping, then patching holes, then organizing the gear. He scrubbed the mirrors with what little cleaner he could find, fixed the light switch near the door, taped off the dangerous corners of the ring. It wasn't perfect, but it was his. Still, not everything was getting better. One afternoon while running laps outside the gym, Liam was stopped by a police cruiser. Officer Ramirez stepped out, mid-40s, stocky, clean-shaven. "You Liam Torres?" he asked. Liam froze. "Depends who's asking." "I am," Ramirez said, holding up his badge. "You're listed as missing from the shelter. There's a caseworker looking for you." "I'm fine," Liam said quickly. "I'm not doing anything wrong." "You're sleeping in an abandoned building and skipping school. That is wrong." Before he could argue, Sly stepped out from the shadows near the alley. "Problem, officer?" he asked, calm but firm. Ramirez turned. He blinked. "Wait, are you—" Sly cut him off with a slight nod. "He's with me." Ramirez raised an eyebrow. "You mentoring this kid?" Something like that. Ramirez looked back at Liam. "You lucky kid. This man's a legend." Liam's eyes widened. So it was true. Ramirez sighed. "Look, I'll buy you some time. But you need a guardian. And this place, it's not safe long-term." He drove off, leaving dust in his wake. Liam turned to Sly. "Why didn't you tell me?" Sly didn't look at him. "Would it have changed anything?" "You're him. You're Rocky." "No," Sly said. "Rocky was just a story. I'm just a guy who wrote it." Liam stared at him. "You chose me?" Sly finally met his eyes. "I recognize something in you." "A reason." Liam swallowed hard. "Reason for what?" "To get back in the ring." Liam started waking up before the sun. He would jog the perimeter of the old gym, his breath frosting in the early morning air, shoes slapping pavement in rhythm. Inside, he'd go through his drills, jump rope, shadow boxing, bag work, and sometimes sparring with Sly if he was feeling generous. It wasn't glamorous. There was no music, no shouting crowd, no trophies, but it felt real. Sly had changed too. Slowly. At first, he remained in the background, like a ghost of greatness hovering over Liam's progress. But now he was engaged, watching closely, correcting posture with a tap, showing foot pivots with his own body. Occasionally he would slip and refer to Liam by another name. Johnny. Rick. Names Liam didn't recognize. "You knew other fighters?" Liam asked one day. Sly nodded. "Not all of them made it, but they all tried. That's what matters." But outside the gym, pressure was mounting. The local child welfare agency began sending officers to the group home more frequently, demanding accountability. They discovered Liam was staying off-grid. Mrs. Darnell was at risk of losing her license. The gym, now receiving visitors and attention because of whispers about the kid training with someone big, caught the eye of city inspectors. One morning, Liam arrived to find a red sticker on the door. "Unsafe structure. Entry prohibited." He froze. Sly stood nearby, arms crossed. "They finally found it," he said. "What do we do?" Liam asked, panicked. Sly looked at him. "We fight." That afternoon, they moved training to the alley behind the gym. Not ideal. Cracked concrete, stray cats, the occasional onlooker, but it was enough. Liam refused to stop. If anything, the threat made him sharper. He pushed harder, hit harder, ran longer. But one night, Sly didn't show. Liam waited in the alley until it was dark. Cold seeped through his hoodie, but he didn't move. He kept looking at the corner, expecting that familiar silhouette. When he finally walked back to the shelter, Officer Ramirez was waiting. "Sly's in the hospital," he said. Liam blinked. "What?" "Collapsed outside a diner. Nothing serious, just exhaustion maybe. But the guy's not exactly 25 anymore." Liam felt something deep inside him clench. The next morning, he took the bus, alone, for the first time in his life. When he arrived at the hospital, the nurse tried to block him, but Sly waved her off from the bed. "You didn't have to come," Sly said. "Yes, I did." There was a long silence. "Why are you doing this?" Liam asked. "Why me?" Sly looked at him. "Because I needed to remember why I ever cared about fighting in the first place." Liam swallowed. "And did you?" Sly nodded. "You reminded me." He paused, then reached into the drawer beside his bed and pulled out a tattered photo. It was a black and white image. Sly in his 30s, standing next to a young man with dark hair, gloves around his neck, smiling wide. "This was your father," he said. Liam froze. "What?" "Luis Torres. I trained him. Years ago. He was never famous. But he had heart. Just like you." Liam stared at the photo. "You knew him?" "I did. He disappeared after your mom died. I never heard from him again. I didn't even know he had a kid." The words didn't sink in all at once. They unfolded slowly, like bruises forming beneath the skin. Liam took the photo. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I didn't want you to train to be your father. I wanted you to train to be you." Liam looked at him, eyes stinging. "What happened to him?" Sly shook his head. "I don't know." 2 days later, the city issued an official notice. The gym would be demolished within 30 days. Its land had been sold to a development firm 6 months earlier. Sly was still recovering. Liam stood in front of the condemned building with the photo in his hand, fists clenched. He knew what he had to do. He created a video, just him, standing in the gym ruins, talking directly into the camera, telling his story, showing the gym, holding the photo, mentioning Sly, but not naming him. "I don't have much. I don't have a home. But this place made me believe I could be more than what I was told. If they tear it down, they're not just destroying wood and brick. They're destroying the only ring I've ever had." He posted it online, not expecting much. By morning, it had 200,000 views. By evening, over 1 million. Fighters shared it. Journalists called. Donations poured in to save the gym. One anonymous donor offered to buy back the land if the city halted demolition. A reporter finally pieced the story together and revealed the old man training Liam was Sylvester Stallone. The news exploded, and the developers backed off. The city paused for a moment that weekend. Local news ran the headline, "Teen Fighter Saves Gym with Help from a Legend." National media picked it up hours later. Commentators debated whether the old gym should become a landmark. And millions around the world watched a grainy video of a boy standing in a broken ring, voice shaking, but eyes defiant. But none of that mattered to Liam, because Sly wasn't improving. His health had taken a turn. Doctors mentioned stress, fatigue, and something more. Something Liam didn't want to hear, but he listened. Every word. Sly stayed silent most of the time. Occasionally he'd tap Liam's hand, nod slowly when the boy updated him about the gym's status. Other times he'd simply stare out the window, as if seeing the past playing on glass. Then one morning, Liam arrived at the hospital with a bag. "What's that?" Sly rasped. "Something for you," Liam said. He pulled out 2 pairs of gloves. One was old, duct-taped at the seams. The other was brand new, the laces clean and white. "I found these in the gym," Liam said, holding up the worn ones. "I think they were yours." Sly smiled weakly. "Maybe. Maybe not. They've been through hell either way." Liam handed them to him. "I thought maybe if you wanted to hold them one more time." Sly gripped them gently. There was a pause. "You're better than I was," he said quietly. "No," Liam replied. "I just had you sooner." Sly chuckled, the sound barely above a breath. "You ready for your fight?" Liam blinked. "What fight?" Sly stared at him. "The one you were born for. The one where no one's watching. The one you can't lose because there's no ref to stop it." It took Liam a moment to understand. He nodded. "Yeah, I'm ready." 2 weeks later, the gym reopened, officially. With funding secured and the demolition canceled, the Ramirez Boxing Club became the Torres Foundation Gym, dedicated to underprivileged youth and named in memory of Liam's father, Luis. But Liam didn't stop there. He built a small wall near the ring, the Wall of Names. It started with one, Luis Torres, fighter, father, ghost. Then another, Frankie Ramirez, teacher. And beside them, Sly, the one who saw me. Kids came, not in waves, but in trickles, one by one, some with parents, others alone. Liam greeted each of them, not with fanfare, just with a pair of gloves and a place to start. He wasn't a licensed coach. He wasn't certified, but he was what they needed. Someone who knew what it felt like to be lost and still choose to fight. One Saturday morning, Liam stood at the edge of the ring, watching a new kid struggle with his stance. He smiled, remembering his own first tries. He walked over, adjusted the boy's footwork, tapped his shoulder, and said, "Back heel down, you're leaking power." The boy nodded. From the far wall, sunlight streamed through the repaired windows, bouncing off the wall of names. Liam looked at the mural above it. It was new, a painting of Sly in grayscale, gloves slung over his shoulder, standing just outside the ropes. His expression wasn't stern or heroic, it was peaceful. Beside the image was a quote, "It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." Liam touched the edge of the painting, just for a second. Then he turned back to the boy in the ring. 3 years later, Liam walked alone into a hospital, same one where Sly had once stayed. This time, he wasn't visiting anyone. He was speaking. They had invited him to talk to a room full of social workers, counselors, and foster care directors. Not about trauma, not about policy, about belief. He stepped onto the small stage, adjusted the mic. "When I was 14, I trained alone in a condemned building because I thought no one cared. And then someone did. The room was quiet. He didn't fix my life. He didn't promise anything. He just showed up. And every day he made me believe I could be more than what the world told me." He paused. "You all do that. Maybe not with gloves. Maybe not in gyms. But you do it. And some of the kids you help will never forget the moment someone showed up for them." Afterward, a woman in the back raised her hand. "Was it really him? Was it really Stallone?" Liam smiled softly. "It was a man who believed in me. That's all I needed to know." Back at the gym, the ring was still worn. The floor still creaked. But the bags were new. The lights worked. The windows opened. And in the far corner, a small photo frame sat on a wooden shelf. Inside was a picture of Liam, 14 years old, sweat-drenched, mid-punch, mouth open in effort. Beside him stood Sly, arms folded, watching, just like always. Because sometimes the person who saves you doesn't wear a cape. Sometimes they just hand you gloves and whisper, "Keep going." Thank you so much for watching. Your time means everything to us, and we hope this story moved you as much as it moved us. If it did, please consider leaving a comment, sharing the video, and subscribing to the channel, because powerful stories deserve to be heard. Until next time, stay kind, stay strong, and never underestimate the impact of one small act of courage.